Hello everybody, Corie here. Today is Monday and I am on my way to work. So I don't know when the last commute video was that I uploaded. I know they're not consistent or necessarily often, but it just depends on when I go to work and then if I decide to actually post videos that I record, because sometimes I do not. So anyway, today, I didn't think about this yesterday as we were traveling back from Nashville or anything. I didn't think about the video or topic, but this morning as I realized that, I'll be commuting, I think I've decided that I want to talk about kids. So if you don't have kids, I understand if you do not want to watch the video. I have, as a lot of you know, especially if you're in the community and you've been around for a minute, a lot of us seem like family now, this far in. But I have 4 beautiful daughters. I don't ever try to do their ages anymore. I usually let my youngest daughter handle that. But they range from like 13 to, we're in June. So just shy of 25. To make sure, this is 2024. So she'll be 25 next month. So I have a range of kids. Of course, the oldest 3 kids, they're grown at this point, and they've moved on, right? But I still have my youngest daughter, 13 years old, and y'all may have seen a few videos with her learning how to use tools. I think it's the only one, honestly, I've uploaded of her. I don't know if I've uploaded anything else, but and this isn't just a finance video. Again, this is about kids in general, and I don't even know where to start with this. Like you try to raise your kids right, and do things, but most of the time, especially when you're a young mother and you're not older, more established, and more knowledgeable with life and whatever else, but you're usually just trying to get by, and especially like I said before, you have a good job or a good making job, or can financially support your kids. All you're ever worried about is trying to get to work, make as much money as possible so you can take care of your family, unless of course you have a stay-at-home significant other, which I've never experienced that personally. So, and then obviously I'm more established now, right? I have my careers, since I have couple of them. So I'm more established now in my life and where I'm going. And, I thought before I was trying to teach my youngest daughter, a bunch of stuff, but not anywhere near what I do nowadays. Growing up, I've never really had a lot of people that were close to me die. I know that's weird. I just went a totally different route, but I promise I did get somewhere with that. When I was really young, my Uncle Mike died, and it was devastating for me. Like, I'm gonna try not to cry. And we weren't even, I didn't see him a lot, we weren't that close. The last time I saw him, we were comparing spots on our legs, and I had some spots that looked just like spots he had because he was a diabetic. And still to this day, nobody's nobody ever truly figured it out, even though I've had probably 100 doctors at Vanderbilt look at me when I was younger. But anyway, that was the closest person that had really, died to me growing up that I can recall. I did have a couple of great grandmothers, but I guess are great grandmothers. I don't even know. But anyway, it wasn't until 2016 when I was decided to leave Tennessee and move away and move to Kentucky. I know that seems like, oh, that's not that far, but at the same time, my entire family and my oldest 3 kids are in Tennessee. So that was significant for me. Right after I moved, my grandmother died, my meemaw, and she raised me a lot growing up. So that was rough. And then you begin to think, about how short life is, and all the things you need to do to prepare your kids, for when you're not there. And I remember at that point, I was more in the mindset of, I need to take care of my affairs. So if I die, our financial stuff's taken care of, our burials, all that stuff's taken care of. Of course, if, me, I always get started on something and I never finish. I'm always trying to do too much stuff at once. And that's just the way I am. That was 2016. And then in 2019, it was the beginning of 2019, I'd almost lost my stepdad. Actually, I had to go to a course at Fort Bragg, and I found out, I think right before that, or I think it was like on my way, I was traveling, getting ready to go there, and I think that's when I found out that he had cancer. And we almost lost him at some point after that, before I went to Sergeant Major Academy, and that's almost a year-long commitment there. And I went to school. It's like one of those things, if I didn't go, I probably would have gotten out of the military. And so I went, and then before Veterans Day, the day after Veterans Day, I was coming home that weekend, and he passed away. He's the one that he taught me, him and my mom taught me, working construction and tools and heavy equipment and all of that stuff. So that's where I learned a lot of those skills growing up. And then I did still go home that weekend, but it was to go to his funeral versus actually getting to see him. And then like 3 weeks later, my uncle died. So then I had to take a quick flight home to that funeral and come back. And then I was still in Sergeant Major Academy, by the way, so that's the second death. And then at the end of Sergeant Major Academy, right after COVID happened in May of 2020, my granddaddy died. So then we all jumped on a plane again to come home for a funeral. And it's like we lost on that side of the family. So it's my mom and her 2 sisters and my mom, her 2 sisters, and then their mom. So now we've lost, in that 7-month, I think, time frame there, we lost my stepdad, the uncle, and the granddaddy. So now we only have like one male left out of the 4. Thank goodness he's still here with us today. But then this past year, around the anniversary of my other grandmother's death, my other grandmother died. So I know I've been lucky to not have a lot of deaths in my life, but I've had a lot the last several years. But again, that just makes life just, all the more seem so short. So with all that said, sorry, it just makes me like, every time I do something now, I feel like I need to teach my daughter. I can only teach or, advise so much through Facebook messengers, which is where we have our girls group from with the other kids. And we know it doesn't matter what age your kids are, they're not going to listen. I know I've had at least one of my oldest daughters tell me, yeah, well, when I grow up, I'll make sure my kids know that. I'm like, well, also know that, when you tell your kids stuff and teach your kids stuff, it doesn't mean they're going to listen. So, at least I'm hoping, with Corie, even though she's not probably going to listen to me right now or like the things that she has to do right now, that she'll still take them with her when she gets older, right? And she may not realize it at the second, and then she's like, man, that's, my mom tried to teach me that, or my mom taught me that, and I didn't care about it then and didn't want to learn, but and it's everything, right? It's finances. Those aren't taught in school, or at least most schools. Apparently, Carly says they do teach some of these things in her school, and it actually gets me excited, because it's like, I want to go to teach these things at your school. Like, maybe when I retire, I can come up and volunteer, and I can volunteer to do personal finance and stuff like that. I don't know that they would let me, but that would be pretty cool to me. But yeah, so we had personal finances, right? And then we had, which includes just small things, right? What is a debit card, a credit card? How do you use these things? Should you use these things, Dealing with cash, learning inflation, learning how, what the Federal Reserve is. Sometimes it's just things that are so small and we make so huge, and we can just break it down for them. Show them how things work together. Talk about mortgages and loans, and I know I'm stuck on finance at this point, but get them involved in building budgets and their goals, learning how to manage things. Now, I'm not saying that I did any of these things with my parents. I was always sort of a saver myself. I had just naturally. And then I had one of my other daughters was the same. And then, of course, you always have the daughter that likes to spend every cent they get as soon as they get it. But I don't know. I've just I've been trying. I may not have been doing the best that I could be doing, but here and there teaching my daughter, my youngest daughter, about money. And one of the things that I've started out with, well, and yeah, we'll just stay on the money track so we're together there, since I don't know how much time I'll actually have here. But, you know, when we lived in Texas and we went to Fort Bliss for the academy, I did a responsibility charge because I was so stressed out in school, because I'm always stressed out about everything, because everything's got to be perfect. So much so that, you know, I didn't get to enjoy myself at Fort Bliss. We did a couple of things beforehand. Sorry, my windshield's fogging up. Before school actually started, and went on a few hikes, and that was awesome. But the rest of the time I was stressed out about writing papers and everything else, and just trying to do everything that I didn't, you know, it was just stressful. I didn't get to live life. But I had a responsibility chart for my daughter, and it told her how much money she could make for doing certain things. And so we did do that. And then when we came back home, it was a little different being at home versus in the RV. And I remember a close friend of ours, I remember him talking to my youngest daughter about, oh, well, Mom needs to get you a new responsibility sheet. Of course, that's not the word he used, right? I'm sure there's chores you could do around here and everything, and we never really did it when we were at that house. And unfortunately, he died a few months later in a motorcycle accident. So that's probably the closest person that Corie, besides her grandpa, that she had died to her. And now that I think about it with my story. But yeah, and then being back in the RV here, we sort of started implementing some of those responsibilities again, and, you know, earning money, and just to help her earn more money. But, you know, then it was where, well, we need help on the farm, right? It's considered a farm because it's a lot of acres in the county that I live in. But we have lots of work that needs to be done, and I need help. So then I pay her, you know, an hourly wage to help. Of course, built into the fact that she's young and that she's going to mess around some and take 15-minute breaks probably while she's doing it. Can take forever just to do one small thing. But that's the way it works, right? Kids, they got to start somewhere. So we did that. I implemented that about a year ago. We started, you know, talking about goals last year. You know, we're supposed to do those things as adults, right? What are our goals? What do we, you know, what are we living for? What do we want to happen in the future? So I started doing the same thing with her. And some of her goals is she wanted a new iPhone, right? Because she gets our hand-me-down phones. She wanted a new iPhone, and then she wanted a food truck because she wants to run her own food truck, and then of course she wants to go to college. So then we broke down her goals, you know, on the sheet, and then we also broke down, okay, well, if you make, you know, this much money an hour, this is how long it would take you to save up for that goal. You know, just trying to teach her just small little things, different ways to look at things, because a lot of people don't do that. And I always do this with my kids, and I do it with her now when she goes to spend money. You know, it's like, okay, well, you want that t-shirt, and it's gonna, just this weekend, it's gonna cost you $25 plus taxes. Like in the state of Tennessee, you're in Tennessee, taxes is almost 10%. Said, of course, you might be able to get a military discount, which is usually 10%, so that could take care of the taxes. But, like, so for ease sake, let's say $25. And I don't even know how much she gets out of her spending money when she works every hour. I think, I don't know, let's just say $2. So out of her hourly money, let's say she gets $2. that gets to go into her spending pot or bucket or basket or envelope or whatever you want to call it. I'm like, so round that up to 26, 2 into 26 is 13, and then it's like, okay, is it worth working 13 hours outside in the heat or washing dishes or whatever? Is it worth 13 hours for that t-shirt? And that's the way I put it. And honestly, I never learned that or thought about it that way until I was broke. Which I guess technically I was always broke when I was younger. But once I was, grown with 3 kids and divorced in a 1-income house with a mortgage, then I was like, I am broke. How am I going to take care of 3 kids and do this? And I worked in Nashville, and nowadays I look back on it, I'm like, it seemed like a lot of money, but it really wasn't. And this is me working for the government. And like I remember, we would go out to eat on maybe that one night a week or something. I'd take them to Mexican and they'd get their food, and I wouldn't even eat. I would eat, if they had leftovers, I would eat some of their leftovers. We ate things that didn't, beans and rice, and I say beans and rice because of Dave Ramsey, but we ate really cheap things back then because we didn't have a lot of money. But anyway, that's the way I thought of it back then, and it's like, okay, is the cost of this, worth it? And I still do that today sometimes, not as much obviously as I used to, but every now and then, if it's just something really expensive, then because I know I shouldn't spend my money on it, I think about it that way, and then maybe that'll deter me from buying something. But anyway, that's just one small thing that I've taught my daughter, and I probably just got off on a total different tangent, and I don't even know where I was going before that. I apologize, but that's how my mind works. It's like I said, like I tell you, it's all over the place. But yeah, so again, just on that topic of finances, I try to teach her lots of stuff, lots of different things, different ways, things that she probably will never be taught anywhere else in school unless she goes to college and takes personal finance class. I know out of my older 3, my middle child, she's going to school for finance, and she took a personal finance course. I don't know that I ever took a personal finance course. I just remember all the way back to when I was pregnant with my second child. I don't know, maybe I was 20 then. I remember even back then, I was budgeting and keeping up with stuff on a spreadsheet. But anyway, so my daughter, what I do now, I started doing it because it gets to where she doesn't want to work, right? She's a kid. She just wants to play. And I got it. Kids should play. Kids should do things. But kids also should learn things and learn how to, if they want things, don't expect their parents to just hand out money. They should learn how to work for their money, learn how to spend their money, budget, do goals like I'd already, mentioned. So what I started doing the past month, actually I started it in May, because I'd been thinking about it and I just never got around to it. And we're getting in summertime, and I need more help outside. And it was, okay, so every day, because I did get her in a habit there for a minute where, she knows she's supposed to do stuff, but I shouldn't, it's one of those things I shouldn't have to tell her, but it seems like I always have to. But, so then we got in a really good habit of coming home, doing the cat litter box stuff, checking on the cats, getting ready for school the next day, make sure you know what you're doing for dinner. And then, I don't know, stuff just got off track. And I say, what is she going to do for dinner? Because she is a vegetarian and she doesn't necessarily eat the same things as we do. And we don't always have planned dinners though it would sure be nice to have those again. And maybe we'd eat a lot healthier, especially going into the summertime. So I should probably do a better job of that, which means I need to make more time for meal planning. But, so then I was like, okay, from now on, from here on out, you're going to, when you get home, you're going to do these things, and then you're going to work an hour. Because, right, she's like any other kid. She just wants to sit over there on the computer all day, all night, do nothing. I say do nothing. She wants to just play on the computer all the time. So we've done good at that. That started about the first week of May, after the first week of May. And so basically at that point, I called her up, gave her out all the money she was due from her previous work. And she put all that, got all of her envelopes out, right? Because I've been doing the envelope system with her. We did give, save, and spending, right? So, let me think. So half of it, okay. So half of her money goes to savings. So 50% goes to savings, 10% goes to giving, and then 40% goes to her spending pot. So that's been her envelope system. And what I did when we started doing this, I guess in the past year or so being in the RV, we got the whole envelopes and let her decorate them and color them up and do all that stuff just to, make your own nice, cute. You can buy some envelopes out there, but you can also just get these envelopes and let them make their own. It's just fun, right? And then learning how to manage cash. And then, of course, I had a spreadsheet already, but what I did is I shared that spreadsheet with her on Google Sheets, and that way she would have access to it. But up until this point, we had just had the spreadsheet. It was on the refrigerator, and then she would have to handwrite it out. And then she'd have to manually do the math in the columns and everything, do her 50% and carry her balance, just like a register. And that's what I call it, is her register, for those of you back in the day when we had checks and registers and had to balance all of our own things. So, did all that, did the cash thing, did the manual register. So anytime she made money, anytime she spent money or gave money at church or whatever, she always had to go to the refrigerator and log that. And that was to teach her how to keep up with her money. And then also, this is how if you ever wonder where your money went, you can go to this register, you could go here, and then you can look to see, okay, where did I spend all my money at, right? One thing that a lot of us don't do a good job of anymore, especially since you don't have checking accounts and you don't have to keep up with that type of stuff. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe people still do that, which I understand, especially when you're more strapped for cash. That's something you really need to do. But making her do those things manually, I think, builds some character to learn those things, right? It's just like math, right? You learn how to do math the manual way before you learn how to use a calculator. And so that was my thought process here. And of course, she's still young and she's growing up and everything else, even though she's grown up with electronics in her hand. But anyway, so we did all that. And then what we did when we started and I implemented this whole, okay, you're going to work an hour every day. Come home, do your stuff, and you're going to work an hour. Now, that's the minimum. And she's a kid, she is going to do the minimum. Now, sometimes if we're in the middle of something, she'll work more, but she's not happy about it. I can let you know that. She was not happy this past week working in the garden for an hour and a half versus an hour. But what we did was, Fidelity has a youth account. And so we set her up, or I set her up, a Fidelity youth account. And we took Well, I let her take her register that she had on paper. I made her update the electronic register. I shared it with her. I made her update it, put it all in there. We double checked her envelopes to make sure it matched. I paid her out for everything to that time frame, and then opened her up the youth account. And actually, I already had the youth account open. I opened it for her birthday. But now we are actually going to put her money in it. I put $100 in there for investing for her birthday. She hasn't invested anything yet, so that's where I need to do a better job to get making that happen. But so the way the youth account is, and I like it. I haven't used it a lot yet, but I don't know. There's some things that I need to figure out a little better. I don't want to give any, I don't know, bad reviews or anything on it. There's just, things that you're used to, like, oh, I cannot do it this way. I want to do it this way, and this is the only place that I know that really has this type of account. So, so she had 100 when she started with the 100 I gave her for investing. And then they had these things where you can learn, right? Learn and earn. I don't even know if they call it that, but that would make sense to do that. But she just goes through and, they talk about stuff and everything. So give me just a second. I apologize. Thank you, you too. But they go through and learn about different things, credit cards, debit cards, Federal Reserve, some topics we've already somewhat talked about, but it's like one of those things, reiterating, things that either she's already learned some about at school, and then I have bought some workbooks and some things on Amazon, to help go through things. I can sit with her. And then now learning some of the things on the apps or adding to it. So I love it. And then by doing that, then she gets to earn money. So she gets to learn, I think, $1 after each section. But I like doing it with her, right? I want to do it. I want to see what you're learning. I want to elaborate on some of these things. Because I will say, there have been some things in there and I'm like, yeah, that's not right. I don't know if that's the word, and I can't think of an example of it. But yeah, I wish I could think of an example to tell you of what, and then I would, but anyway, I would do it with her, and then I would help either reiterate or explain it a little bit better to make sure she fully understood it, because why do it if you're not going to try to actually understand it and learn? But then some things, like I said, I was like, no, and blah, 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 whatever. So anyway, it was pretty cool. She was able to earn some money there. So the more she does, the more she earns. There's only going to be so many of them, though. But anyway, it's pretty cool. And then they have it so you can make buckets, which I'm still not totally sure how this part works. But what we did, I created the buckets. So she has 4 buckets. She has the same thing with her 3 envelopes. She has her spend, save, spending, saving, and giving. And then now the new investing one. So, and what happened, so now she has a debit card also. She actually used it this weekend. She's in Tennessee for 3 weeks, but she used it this weekend shopping, and this girl barely had to learn real quick because she spent $7 at Starbucks. I'm like, did that $7 drink, was it worth 3 hours or whatever of work for spending money? But anyway, she's got to learn. So, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to help teach them, but then also let them make their own mistakes. We can guide them the best we can, but let them make their own decisions. And that's what I'm hoping to do, right, with this, the money. Just like the $100 that I gave her for her birthday to invest. She can invest it wherever she wants it. I'm going to try to guide her in the ways that I think she should. I've given her suggestions. She still has not done anything with them. I need to push a little harder on it. But my thought is, if you lose it, you lose it, right? But that's a learning opportunity. It wasn't her money initially anyway. Like, I gave her. And technically that was extra on top of her birthday. Only because I planned to do one thing for her birthday, and then she decided that she wanted to have a bed built in the cat's room, because she's up in the loft in the RV. And then so I spent a bunch of money to build her this bed. So then that became her birthday, but I'd already bought her birthday, so I was a little sad. But anyway, so that's sort of how I feel about the $100. Is like, you can lose it as long as you can learn from losing it. I don't care. But I also want her to truly, learn investing. And I'm trying to, I have built this comparison spreadsheet many months ago before I started doing YouTube. And then every time I get it somewhat updated, because I'm going to look at historical data, I want to look at some of these ETFs and stuff that do better in a down market. Try to see what some of because I hate for me turn around and teach her right now and she started investing in the SPY or Qs or whatever, and then we go into a recession the next couple of years and she loses most of her money. I don't want that to be the bad experience, right? So I have some in mind, but I wanted to compare things. But anyway. So I'm still looking at that. I really need to figure out the best way to invest her money, to, that it won't go down significantly in a down market or if we have a recession. So anyway, and then I was talking about, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, her spending and her debit cards and her buckets. So there's 4 buckets. Your spending bucket is like your main one. So if you use your debit card, it comes out of that spending bucket. I'm not really sure how the rest of it works, because I can't just click on a bucket and then it like show me all the activity and everything else. It's almost like they're just saving pots and you don't actually spend out of those pots, it appears. Because then you have to go to this other activity thing, which just shows you activity for the main account. So I'm not sure how it's going to work when we actually start investing, because then it has a separate area and a spot where it says, this is the amount you have invested. So it might be one of those things where I have the $100 in the investing bucket, but then once she spends it, it's going to come out of the spending, and then we're going to have to take it out of the invested bucket to, back to fill it back up with what came out of spending. But anyway, I'm still trying to figure that out, help her figure that kind of stuff out so she can, be better with stuff and learn things. I know I got my first checking account at 15 or 16, because I guess it had to be 15 because that's when I got my first job. My mom found out because she came through the drive-thru at Dairy Queen, and I was turned around and like, oh, hey, I got a job. But trying to get her started early, like I said, and learning as much as possible when it comes to finances and stuff. So we've revisited her goals. Of course, she doesn't have iPhone on her goal anymore because we got new phones around Christmas time, which I really hated paying that much money for a phone, but we got new phones, and she got, one of our hand-me-down phones. So she took that off, but her other goals are still intact, she says. So we'll see about this food truck. I don't know about it. It seems like a lot of money when I look them up to see how much they're going to cost to buy one. But I try to do what I can to help support her in things that she wants to do in life. But yeah, I talked mostly about the finances with her, and then just, you know, trying to teach her about saving and investing. And so one thing I didn't mention is that, see, now we're adding investing to it, and that's why I wanted her to update her goals to see where we're at, because I think what we're going to do, I think this has already been decided, is that we're going to take, you know, we were doing 40, 50, and 10, spending, saving, and giving. So now that we've added investing on that, I think what we're going to do, for now at least at the beginning, we're going to take that 50% in savings and make that 40 and put 10% in investing. And I know we probably want to have more investing long term than just saving, but this will be to start out. We'll see how things go, see how she feels, because she has to be comfortable with it, and then also reassess her her goals, because her goals are basically food truck and college. And college is a long-term thing for her that's at least 5 years away. So I think she should be investing more. Of course, I want to try to help her start looking at scholarships and start figuring out how to apply for those to help her, so she doesn't have to get student loans and all that stuff, because I don't want her to go down that road. But I want her to figure out how to get college paid for without doing student loans. Either you're going to work for it, or you're going to get scholarships, one or the other, but no loans. So anyway, this is, you know, something that I am trying to do. Of course, I focused, like I said, mostly on the finance part of it, but it's everything else too. Like, I try to tell her, you know, I could die tomorrow. Mommy and Daddy, we could die tomorrow. Then what? Right? What did we teach you? What should we have taught you? So it's almost like every time I do something, I feel like I need to teach her how to do it. Whether it's cooking, you know, I've started letting her cook on her own. She cooks quesadillas and hot dogs, and rolled up hot dogs and quesadillas. When they say hot dogs, I know she's a vegetarian, but they have vegetarian hot dogs. But try to teach her those things, and that's why I give her the, what are you going to eat tonight? But I don't let her eat the same thing every night. Like, you're not having ramen noodles every night. But she can have some fake meat chicken pot pies or some other things. She likes a lot of Alfredo and fake chicken and different things. I always give her options, but then I let her fix her meals most of the time. Just so she learns how to do those types of things. Now, I do fix meals sometimes that are vegetarian, or I can make it both. I can have one with meat for us, and then she gets vegetarian, or sometimes she'll just eat the rice or whatever the starch is, or carb, and the vegetable that goes with it. She has gotten to where she eats a lot of vegetables now, which I'm very proud of for her, for a vegetarian that doesn't eat vegetables. So she has gotten a lot better. She, at least at a minimum, she's required to try every vegetable that we make. I'm a big vegetable person. But, you know, I think I did share a video not too long ago with teaching her to use a saw. She wanted to. She kept going on and on and on. So I was finally fine. I need these cut, because I didn't want to cut them. So I let her cut all the metal pieces the rest of the day after she did her initial one, so she could use the circular saw for the first time. And then, of course, we just had something pull up on our thing from a year ago where she was outside drilling holes in the bottom of planters and stuff using tools. So yeah, I've got to be the one there to teach her how to use tools and tape measures and how to read them and all that stuff. So, like I said, you know, it's the cooking, it's the finances, it's taking care of yourself. It's learning how to do tools, learning how to change a tire, learning how to, you know, do things for yourself, and that you don't always have to pay people to do things for you. Like, for instance, when my husband and I got together, that was his thing, right? He had money, so he paid people to do things. His motto was, I went to school to learn how to do this, and so that's what I do. And these people over here went to school or tech school or whatever, or just learned, and that's what they do. So I pay them to do that. And I grew up learning how to change tires, and then when I didn't have a lot of money, then I started doing my own oil changes. Back in the day, they were like $20. I'm like, that's cheap. I can pay somebody to do that, right? Of course, I've put in my own alternator. I've done my own spark plugs. Shoot, on my truck, I thought I was going to do the fuel filters and stuff on my truck, because I think they charged me the last time like $600 to do them, and it was ridiculous. Anything that gets done on a Ram is way expensive. But then I was watching this one video about the one in the gas tank, and I was like, I'm not doing this. So yes, I paid somebody to do that. But there are a lot of things we do now. My husband, he's learned, he calls it YouTube University. We'll go on YouTube and learn how to do things. In fact, it's funny, I was like, we need new lawnmower tires. So I was looking them up, and I ordered them on Friday before going to Nashville. And it was so sweet. It was so cute. I saw him watching a video trying to figure out how to, instead of taking the tire, I just said, well, when you get them, you're going to take them to somebody to get them to put the tire on the Ram, the new Ram, or the new tire on the old Ram. And he was actually looking it up on YouTube to see how he could do it by himself. So, and again, it's one of those things. Just because you have the money to do something doesn't mean you have to spend it and do it. You can save that money. And honestly, last year, when I started investing and doing things, I'm like, man, but if I spend money doing this on that, then that's less money I can invest. So I was like, man, I could buy so many stocks of this with this money. And then that's when I started thinking about it in a mindset of that. But yeah, I'm getting off track there. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about our kids. I'm really missing my daughter this weekend. And what brought it up was that, I told my husband, I'm like, well, what else am I living for? Right? I'm living for my kids. I'm living for, so one day that when I die, that I hope that my kids have learned some things from me, that I've been able to be beneficial in their journey in life and growing, and hopefully that will also help them learn how to teach their kids, and then provide them with some money as well in our death. So that's my goals, and that's what I live for, are my kids. So anyway, that's why I wanted to talk about them this morning, and some of the things that I have been doing with my daughter. And now I'd like to hear from y'all, because that's one of my passions, right? My kids and finances, and budgeting, and just finances in general, saving money. Like, I don't know a lot about investing, but I've really done fairly decent with our money over the years, and debt and everything else. So even though I didn't really invest in selling our houses ourselves and saving a lot of money with realtor fees and stuff like that, but anyway, I guess I'll let y'all go. I've been sitting here at work. I'm actually here a lot earlier than I normally would be, a couple of hours. In fact, I didn't sleep well last night. I just tossed and turned for the last 3 or 4 hours. I was in bed since like 3 o'clock or so this morning. So I thought I'd get up and get to work early since I had to be in the office. But I hope y'all enjoyed the topic today, or my perspective on things. And I know I probably get off track, and there's probably a lot more things that I wanted to say that I didn't, and I can't remember, because this is just things right off the top of my head. It's not like there's a script or anything written down, or anything, but share with me, some things, some of your thoughts. If you have kids, don't have kids, maybe something your parents did with you things you do with your kids, some additional things, also that maybe you do that I didn't mention. Maybe you can give me some ideas to add on to my, already trying to educate my youngest daughter in finances. I didn't mention it, but my oldest kids, I opened them all up a Roth IRA account. I opened it up at Christmas time, but the money I put in it was for their birthday because they had already gotten their Christmas by the time Christmas came. We all did something different, but so yeah, I opened them all up, a Roth, them and their boyfriends or husbands or whatever, and I manage those. So that's another reason why I really want to find some good ETFs that are good in a down market or recession. I want to take care of their accounts as well. Yeah, I started out with a couple of $100, and then I give them money for their grades for school. Like Carly, they get money for college grades. They get money for their degrees. They get money for other things, and then money goes into their Roth to help build that Roth up, and they can see that grow. And then, of course, be tax-free. So I think the youngest of the oldest is 21. Of course, hers isn't started because we had an issue with Robinhood, and I can't connect an account to it unless it's in her name now. After I could connect like 3 or 4 of the different accounts, but then they started implementing this thing where you had to verify that was your account. So, and then her account couldn't get verified, and I need to figure something out because it's been 6 months now. I need to, I guess, try to open it up under a different account or a different place. The only reason I went with Robinhood is because they would match, I don't know, they match 3-something% or whatever for their Roths. I don't know what the percentage is. I think it's 3%. And then I also have told the kids that I would match if they put money in there. I'd match so much percentage or money. Of course, they're not taking me up on that just yet. So I've got some other things that I've thought about. I just need to make sure that I would be able to personally afford it monthly before I tell them about it. But I want to try to get them to help in, investing for themselves. And, I know it's just a little bit, but, even if it's just $25 a month, I'm sure there's something that they could cut out to just put something as small as $25 a month in, But that's one of the things I've been trying to help with my older kids, and with trying to invest for their retirement and their future. But anyway, I guess I'll let y'all guys go. I could talk all day on all of this stuff, but anyway, thanks for listening. Hopefully you got something out of it. I don't know. Maybe you have something you can share with me to help me. But anyway, I will talk with y'all later, and thanks for joining me.